I never thought I'd be the kind of person whose life unravels in slow motion like a bad TV show. I came home that Thursday, like any other Thursday, with a bag of takeout in one hand and a half-decent mood after a long day. My wife, Mia, was on the couch scrolling her phone. Nothing seemed off at first, but there was this flicker in her eyes when she saw me. It wasn't the tired, happy flicker of someone waiting for their partner. It was something else. I shrugged it off. We had been together for 8 years, married for 5. Our life was, by all appearances, normal. I worked in a mid-sized tech firm. She freelanced for a local design studio. On the surface, we were the picture of stability. Friends would ask how we managed. So well, and I would nod and smile. But in those quiet moments at home, I began to feel the subtle distance creeping in. It started small. The texts. Mia would leave her phone face down and laugh at things I couldn't see. I asked her once, "Who are you texting?" She waved it off. "No one, just work stuff." But her laugh wasn't hers alone. It had a trace of something secretive, something I didn't belong to. At the time, I chalked it up to paranoia. Maybe she just needed some space. At work, things were tense, but I thought it was just stress. I noticed her chatting a lot with the department head, Greg. She always said he was professional, a mentor, someone she admired for guidance. But then I noticed patterns: Mia working late nights on a client project, disappearing for lunch with Greg more often than anyone else. And yet, whenever I brought it up, I was met with annoyance or defensiveness. "You're overthinking," she said. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Trust, I told myself, was the cornerstone of marriage. The first real pang of suspicion came from something absurd, a slip-up in a casual conversation. She mentioned a presentation she'd given to Greg at the studio. I remembered that day. She hadn't told me she was going anywhere. Later that night, I checked the chat thread she had left logged in on her laptop. There it was, Greg, complimenting her, saying he appreciated her initiative. I froze. My chest tightened in a way that felt almost physical. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was innocent, just work chatter. But something in the way she phrased it, so casually, almost flirtatiously, made my stomach churn. And then the pattern emerged. Every week, there was some new anecdote where Greg was involved, where initiative got mentioned. She didn't talk like that with anyone else, not me, not her colleagues, just Greg. And something inside me, a cold, growing suspicion, started whispering that I wasn't supposed to know the whole story. I started noticing the little things she couldn't control. The way her phone buzzed and she tensed, the scent of a perfume that wasn't mine, the sudden urgency to finish work at odd hours. I hated myself for watching, for lurking, for letting my paranoia grow like poison. But one night, I accidentally opened a file she left on her laptop. There was a private chat window open, just one message, but enough. Greg had written something that made my hands shake. "You make taking initiative irresistible." I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. My mind refused to accept it. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room, to yell at her, to disappear. But I didn't. I closed it and tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. When I looked at her the next morning, she was bright-eyed and cheerful, as if the last 3 months of subtle deception had never happened. I couldn't breathe. The weight of suspicion settled deep in my chest, and I knew things had changed forever. I confronted her one Sunday, clumsy and trembling. "Mia, is there something going on with Greg?" I asked, trying to keep my voice normal. She froze, and for a split second, I saw something like panic, or maybe guilt, in her eyes. Then she laughed, nervous, forced. "What?" "No. You're imagining things." But it wasn't convincing. She started deflecting, talking about my stress at work, my own distance, the hours I spent in meetings. And I wanted to believe her. I really did. I wanted her to be innocent, for this to be nothing. But the seed of doubt had grown into a gnawing certainty. The conversations became arguments, and I started checking her phone, her messages, her emails. Every time I tried to rationalize, my heart refused to comply. It was like walking a tightrope. I loved her, still do, but every step closer to the truth made me tremble. And I knew that when the full truth came out, it wouldn't just be a bad day. It would be a collapse. The revelation hit on a Thursday, the worst kind of ordinary day. I had borrowed her laptop, accidentally, while she was in the kitchen. One click, one wrong folder, and there it was, a series of explicit messages, photos, plans. She and Greg had been seeing each other for months. I read her words. "I can't wait to see you again. You make me feel alive." I dropped the laptop. My hands shook, my stomach lurched, and for a long moment, I just sat there staring at the wall, pretending to breathe. Then I heard her behind me. "What are you doing?" My voice cracked. I know. I know everything." She went pale. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just stared. I think she realized in that moment that everything had changed. That nothing could ever be the same. The confrontation was brutal. I yelled, I cried, I demanded answers. Why? Why him? Why behind my back? She tried to explain, saying it was complicated, that she felt unappreciated, that Greg understood her ambition. She kept repeating the same lines, as if rehearsed. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I wanted to hate her. I wanted to throw her out. But a part of me, the part that still loved her, wanted to hold her, to beg her to stop, to beg her to stay. We argued for hours, voices hoarse, tears streaking our faces. At one point, she broke down, sobbing. "I never wanted to destroy us." But the damage was done. Every word she had typed, every secret meeting, every late night, it all existed, and it screamed betrayal louder than any apology ever could. In the aftermath, I felt hollow. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every memory of us together felt tainted. The life we built, the weekends, the dinners, the inside jokes, was now a series of lies layered over reality. I questioned everything, our intimacy, her smiles, the way she said, "I love you." Every interaction became a test. Was she still deceiving me in some way? Were there more secrets? I withdrew from friends, from colleagues. I didn't want advice. I didn't want comfort. I just wanted clarity, and clarity didn't exist. I replayed the messages in my head, trying to understand how she could betray me so thoroughly. The worst part wasn't just the act, it was the normalcy that had masked it. I had shared my life with a stranger disguised as my wife, and the realization was almost too much to bear. I tried to maintain a facade for the kids. They were too young to understand, but I could feel the tension seeping into the house. Mia tried to act normal too, but the atmosphere was suffocating. Every morning, I woke up expecting some revelation, some new betrayal to surface. Work became a blur. I couldn't focus. My mind kept returning to Greg, the man who appreciated initiative, and the way he had inserted himself into the life I thought was secure. I remember driving one night, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, asking myself how I could ever trust anyone again. I wasn't sure if I was angrier at Mia or at myself for missing the signs. Every instinct I had told me something was wrong, but I had ignored it, excused it, hoped it away. That guilt burned more than the betrayal itself. The separation came gradually. We tried counseling at first, sitting across from each other with a therapist mediating. She begged for forgiveness. I asked questions she couldn't answer. The sessions often ended in silence, or worse, in more arguments. I realized that love alone wasn't enough to bridge the chasm she had created. I couldn't look at her without imagining Greg, the texts, the late nights. I moved into a small apartment nearby. The kids stayed with Mia, which was the hardest part. Every weekend visit was a test of composure, of pretending that my anger and heartbreak were somehow manageable. Inside, I was shattered. Simple things, watching them play, hearing their laughter, were tinged with resentment. I resented her. I resented Greg. I even resented myself for staying as long as I did before uncovering the truth. Months passed, and the world kept spinning, as if nothing had happened. Friends and colleagues carried on with their lives, oblivious to the earthquake that had ripped through mine. I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy at work, but concentration was a joke. Every email, every meeting, every casual chat felt like a test of my willpower, like I was on autopilot just trying not to explode. Nights were the worst. Alone in my small apartment, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the street below, imagining all the ways things could have gone differently. I questioned everything. Not just my marriage, but friendships, work relationships, even casual acquaintances. Could anyone really be trusted? My mind replayed moments I had dismissed as inconsequential, laughs she shared over text, late-night work calls, the way she looked at him during a team meeting. And guilt crept in, gnawing at me. I should have noticed. I should have stopped it. I should have protected myself better. But I didn't. And that guilt, more than anything else, kept me awake, shivering under my blankets, feeling like I had lost not just my marriage but my very sense of self. I caught glimpses of them together on social media, carefully curated snapshots of work events that were clearly more than work. Every like, every tagged photo was a punch to the gut. I wanted to confront them, to scream, to erase them from my life entirely, but I couldn't. I had to survive, to hold on to what remained of my dignity and the limited control I had over my own life. Every interaction with them, even online, was a tightrope walk, a mixture of rage, grief, and disbelief. Therapy helped, but only partially. I learned breathing exercises, coping mechanisms, strategies to avoid letting anger dominate every waking thought. Yet, the emotional scar remained raw. I flinch at certain words, certain gestures, certain tones of voice. I still replay conversations and texts, imagining alternate scenarios where I might have prevented the betrayal, or where she might have confessed sooner. And even with progress, the betrayal's shadow lingers, a constant whisper reminding me that love can be both the most beautiful and the most devastating thing you can give. Some nights, I still lie awake imagining confronting Greg, imagining demanding explanations, imagining something resembling closure. But the truth is, closure isn't given. It's something you carve out for yourself, bit by bit, over years. A year later, I finally stopped asking, why, and started asking, what now? The question was both liberating and terrifying. I focused on rebuilding, on reclaiming pieces of my life that weren't tainted by betrayal. My career became a lifeline. I immersed myself in work, in the minutiae of tasks that required no emotional trust. The kids became my anchor. Their laughter, their homework struggles, their little victories, those were things I could control, moments I could nurture without fear of betrayal. Mia and Greg eventually faded from my daily life. I rarely saw them, rarely heard of them, and yet the echo of what happened remained. I realized that some wounds don't truly heal. You adapt, you rebuild, you live around them, but a part of you is permanently aware that trust can be ripped away in an instant. Some memories, some feelings, will always feel jagged and raw. I've learned to measure every new relationship, every new friendship, against the yardstick of what happened. And though I try to move forward, there's a part of me that will always pause, scan for signs of deceit, and remember the Thursday that changed everything. I sometimes think about the younger version of myself, the one who laughed freely, believed in the invincibility of love, thought trust was a given, not a fragile currency. That version of me is gone. Replaced by someone quieter, more wary, someone who analyzes intentions too deeply and smiles with caution. Life isn't bad, it's functional, even good in some ways, but the innocence, the carefree ability to trust without calculation, has been irrevocably lost. Running into Mia now is surreal. She smiles politely, a ghost of familiarity in her expression. For a fleeting second, nostalgia tempts me, a memory of a happier, lighter time. But the thought evaporates quickly, replaced by the memory of her betrayal, the countless nights she lied, the way she showed initiative, in ways that excluded me entirely. I step past her, and my chest tightens. Sometimes I catch myself replaying her words, her actions, the little betrayals that built up over months into a tsunami I couldn't stop. I realize the truth is this: some people leave marks you can't erase, and you just have to learn to walk through life with them, careful, cautious, and aware. Looking back, I don't have neat closure. There's no grand vindication, no perfect resolution. Life just continues, quieter, slower, more deliberate. I've rebuilt routines, found ways to be happy again, focused on my kids and my career, but the emotional terrain is forever scarred. I warn myself constantly against blind trust, against ignoring red flags, against believing life will remain untouched by deceit. That knowledge is heavy, but necessary. And yet, despite everything, I still love. I still crave connection, even if it's tempered by caution and fear. Betrayal didn't take my capacity to feel, it just taught me the price of misplaced trust. Some nights, I still replay the messages, imagine confronting Greg, and wonder if anything could have been different. But mostly, I focus on survival, on living, on moving forward, and on carving out a life that is mine, even if the past will always haunt the edges of it. Love, I've learned, is complicated. Trust, I've learned, is priceless and fragile.